We know this may come off as a contentious statement, but it does bear repeating. While we are an Elder Scrolls game, we are also an MMO. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. So I have been awaiting with some degree of trepidation the inevitable response from ZOS to all the hysterical and unhinged feedback on the night market. Now, just to be clear, some of this feedback has been completely legitimate, but mixed in with that are all the people saying they're canceling their subscription, they hate the game, they're actually angry with ZOS for putting this out there. And so I was a bit concerned that they were just going to capitulate, cater to the criers and the complainers, nerf the night market, make it more solo friendly. But in a lengthy recent response on the forums, ZOS Kevin doubled down on the basic principles of the night market and basically said deal with it, which I personally really appreciate. So in this video, I'm going to read the full response from ZOS Kevin to the night market feedback, go through some of the responses to that were further down the thread, and then give my overall analysis and take on how ZOS is handling this, why I feel like the team at ZOS made the right move by approaching the feedback in this way. Before we dive in though, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, please like and hype this video, and consider taking your support a step further by becoming a member of the Spopes Army, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. Alright guys, let's get into what ZOS Kevin had to say here, the official stance of ZOS on feedback to the night market, and why I feel this is the right way to approach the criticism. ZOS Kevin's response was within this thread titled Concerns about ESO's Future Direction and Solo Player Experience. The original post featured questions like, does ZOS have plans to turn ESO into something like a Dark Souls style game? Do they plan to push solo players out of the game? Both unhinged, hysterical, bad faith questions in my opinion. Thank God that I do not have ZOS Kevin's job. I would not be anywhere near as nice as he is. Essentially, this person is trying to figure out if they should stop playing, asking if they're planning to push solo players out of the game, which is just crazy. Like, why would they be doing that? But in any case, that was the original question. Now let's get to what ZOS Kevin responded with. So he responded to both points in turn. To answer the core questions asked, does ZOS have plans to turn ESO into something like a Dark Souls style game? Answer, no. And my answer would be, obviously no, duh, are you crazy? But ZOS Kevin kept it to a very simple and polite no. Then in response to the other question, does ZOS have plans to push solo players out of the game? Answer, no. And of course, my answer would be no, why would they do that? That'd be so self-defeating and ridiculous. Why would you even ask that question? But moving on. ZOS Kevin begins the remainder of his response by saying, just following up here generally. We hear the feedback from solo players about the night market content. We want to follow up with just a few things. We have no intention of pushing solo players out of the game. However, we started this year off by noting that we are going to try some new things. Night market is one of them. While we always provide group players with trials, we also wanted to try something different. This was not to alienate solo players, but rather to add a new way to play. That being said, we do hear the feedback, and we've passed that on to our teams for future consideration, especially for when the night market comes back later in the year. Remember, part of the ethos of this event is to add to it over time. As several have noted in this thread as well, we have a roadmap that is publicly available. The point of this roadmap is to showcase the content we have coming throughout the year. As is noted on the roadmap and current PTS testing, we have plenty of solo-friendly content as well. Thieves Guild and Sheogorath questlines, Favors System, Rumors System, 2 solo dungeons, the Sage's Vault, and the list can keep going. And that is on top of existing content. We also understand that not every piece of content will be for everyone, and that is okay. We know this may come off as a contentious statement, but it does bear repeating. While we are an Elder Scrolls game, we are also an MMO. Storytelling and the heart of solo adventure will always be an important part of ESO. However, some of our event/event zone content will be focused on encouraging group play. It is the nature of the genre. Additionally, we know just like there are players who come for solo content, there are also players who come for group content and challenging group content. So we want to make sure we are providing new things for them as well. We'll close with this. Last year, we saw many threads throughout the year asking us to address content and find new ways of renewing the gameplay experience, both in variety and challenge. We are in the first passes of this now, with items like Night Market going live. But we will have content throughout the year to address both solo and group play within the community. The feedback is helpful to steer us on the right track. So thanks to everyone, both solo players and group players, who have given their constructive feedback regarding the night market. The team is taking a look at what can be done during this current running and what can be adjusted for the next run of the night market. So in my mind, this was an absolutely flawless response. Obviously, this wasn't just ZOS Kevin shooting from the hip. Probably a few different team members, including Gina Bruno and Jessica Folsom, all came together to figure out how to respond to all this hysterical lunacy. And when I say hysterical lunacy, that isn't to deny the fact that there has been plenty of constructive feedback as well. But people have been going absolutely ballistic over this. And I guess you can't really control that. Some people are just mentally ill and unhinged. They look for any excuse to get upset about anything. But what I really appreciate about this statement is ZOS Kevin not catering to those people, acknowledging them to some degree. Though I did notice how he said that he appreciated the constructive feedback. Yeah, let's get a little bit more into analyzing what he said in this statement, the parts that really stuck out to me. He says, we started this year off by saying we're going to try some new things. That's 100% true. They've been clear about that from the beginning. They said they were going to experiment and take risks, try different things. It's not like this came out of left field, where they were saying, oh, we're just going to do the same thing we've always done, and then suddenly the night market launches. They've been very clear about the experimental tone they're setting with new content, and if the night market isn't exactly to your liking, that, in my opinion, is no reason to unsub, or delete the game, or freak out. They've been clear they're trying new things, and this is one of them. And then he was clear to say the night market is not intended to alienate solo players. And for mentally healthy solo players, this hasn't honestly alienated them. I've seen a lot of comments from people saying, I generally play solo, but the night market has encouraged me to try group content. I think that's what the night market was actually intended to do. It was intended to get solo players to try group content maybe for the first time. It's easier to get into than trials, less daunting than veteran dungeons. You can just drop in and follow groups around with actually grouping up. You can even play lots of it solo. I just posted a video on a solo AFK method that can get you to 10k favor by the end of the event. You can also just go do the oddities, the daring races, just avoid enemies. And if you have a good enough build, like my Dragon Knight build that I'm linking above, you can totally solo even trash mobs. Then he makes sure to say that they are looking at the feedback, and he's asking people to remember that the night market is something they plan to add to over time. So maybe they will dumb it down eventually, but what I appreciate is they're not just immediately capitulating and saying, oh yeah, we're going to reduce the difficulty by 50%, just so people will stop crying. That would ruin the night market experience for so many people who are actually enjoying it, and there's absolutely no reason to do that in my opinion. And now in the next paragraph, this is the one point where he gets even just slightly testy. He has to remind people that there is a roadmap available. The roadmap has been very clearly broadcasted multiple times, but even I've seen some people in the comments saying, we're getting the night market instead of a new zone this year. That is just patently untrue. The night market is just a small sliver of the content they're coming out with this year, and it's not like they've been hiding that fact. So all these things are coming. 2 new quest lines, 2 solo dungeons, favors, rumors, and the Sage's Vault. And I would add in the naval combat event that's coming, the Storms over Skyrim event that's coming at the end of the year. The night market is just like maybe 1/6 to 1/10 of the content they're coming out with. This is in no way meant to be a replacement of the usual content you get in a year. It's just one new thing they're trying. Now again, maybe they shouldn't have led with this. Maybe this shouldn't have been the first piece of new content they came out with this year. That was maybe kind of a misstep because it did kind of give people the wrong idea. But again, all this information on all the other content that's coming out has been publicly available at least since January. And if you aren't aware of it, that is really not ZOS's fault. That's your fault for not paying attention. And then what I appreciate the most out of this paragraph are these 2 closing sentences. All this stuff they're coming out with this year, including the night market, that is on top of all the existing content in the game, a lot of which was just made free. Orsinium, Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, etc. There's so much else to do in ESO. You really don't have to do this. No one is forcing you to do the night market. Yeah, I've seen that exact language in the comments multiple times here. People saying they're being forced to play the night market. Please show me where ZOS is holding a gun to your head, making you play this. That's just completely unhinged. And then really the balls of this last sentence, man, I just appreciate it so much. We understand that not every piece of content will be for everyone, and that is okay. Yes, it is okay. Not everyone needs to play every single thing there is to do in ESO. There are lots of people who are into veteran trials, for instance, who never set a foot in housing. There are lots of people who love doing the story content but never fish. ESO is such a vast game with so many different kinds of content that, yes, not every piece of content needs to be for everyone. Do they need to make fishing universally appealing to absolutely every player? No, of course they don't. Do they have to make every silly little side quest where you go rescue somebody's dog or whatever? Do they need to make that appealing to everyone? No, of course they don't. So why does the night market need to be appealing to everyone, especially when you consider the fact that the night market and all new content going forward is free? Now on to the next paragraph, and I honestly can't really believe he said this. It took some major balls to say this, but I really appreciate it. Even as ZOS Kevin admits this might be a contentious statement, he makes sure to say we are an Elder Scrolls game, but we are also an MMO. That's true. It's both things, guys. So a lot of people who are solo Elder Scrolls players are just playing ESO as a bridge between Skyrim and TES 6, which is totally valid. You can go ahead and do that. But a lot of people just play ESO because it's an MMO. Me among them. I hardly played any Elder Scrolls games before the Elder Scrolls Online. It did get me more into other games, and I've since jumped in and played some Oblivion and Skyrim, but I'd hardly touched those games before I played the Elder Scrolls Online. And what made me fall in love with it is the fact that it's an MMO. And I'm not even a hardcore player. I don't do veteran trials. I don't do trials at all. I used to do veteran dungeons, and then I stopped. I just like the shared social experience. And in my opinion, the Elder Scrolls Online does a great job of bridging the gap. Almost the entire game is solo friendly, but they do make sure to include legitimate MMO elements as well. So kudos to ZOS Kevin for coming out and saying this. Really appreciated. And he goes on to say that some content will be focused around encouraging group play. He even adds in it is the nature of the genre. I mean, exactly. Can you imagine if an MMO had absolutely no social play content? Then it would just be a single player game you all play together. What would be the point of that? They need to keep creating actual MMO content for the game. That doesn't mean all content needs to be group friendly, and that's not what he's saying here. He's saying they're continuing to strike a balance between solo and group play, which makes sense because it's an MMO based on a single player series. So you'd want to do both, but not just one at the expense of the other. And then he finishes up by saying they're basically just doing what the players asked them to do. They said rightfully that new content was getting stale. The same old formulaic experiences were getting boring. Players literally begged ZOS to do something new, and now they're doing something new, and everyone's freaking out. He says they're in the first passes of trying experimental content, like the night market. This is an ongoing process, and he does appreciate the feedback, but he does make sure to say that he appreciates the constructive feedback. That is a very nice way of saying, stop freaking out, be constructive if you're going to give feedback. Stop saying crazy things like, is ESO Dark Souls now? Or are you trying to push solo players out of the game? Just what an unhinged question. Why would ZOS be doing that? Why would they purposefully be making the game uninteresting to solo players? I mean, even at their darkest moments, I don't think ZOS was that self-destructive. And now they have a totally new ethos toward developing the game. This is the last time when you should be accusing them of alienating people, given the new leadership, the new transparent communication, the whole new way that ZOS is approaching developing the game. I'm just going to finish up by summing up the situation one more time. So yes, the night market is challenging, but even in the first week, people figure out ways to get around that, where you don't have to group up. You can still get all the favor you need to get the achievements done. You can get everything you need out of the night market, even without grouping. You don't have to be some solo amazing DPS god. There are some simple tricks and cheats you can use to get around doing difficult stuff and still get all the rewards. But just the level of unhinged insanity that the night market has elicited in a small but vocal subset of the player base has honestly shocked me. I think part of it just has to do with the fact that people aren't used to being challenged. It's sad to say, but a lot of people retreat into virtual worlds because the real world is too hard. And then my thought was that those people generally like being challenged within their virtual worlds as a replacement for real world challenges. So they still feel like they're doing things. But I think a lot of people just go into video games just to hide from everything, which again is horribly sad. But the response to the night market has made me think this must be more true than I thought, where not only are you seeking escape from challenge in the real world, but you don't even want to be challenged in any way, even in the virtual world. And then an equally unhinged side of the feedback is the idea you're being forced to play the night market. I mean, if you really, really want the die or some of the other rewards, I can kind of understand feeling that way. But literally nobody is being forced to even play ESO at all. If the night market on a rational and reasonable level makes you concerned about the direction of the game and you no longer want to play it, go ahead and uninstall. Go ahead and unsub, but you don't need to tell us about it. Nobody cares. You're not achieving anything by blowing your horn about it. Just people, I guess, really just want to be mad about things. They're upset about other aspects of their lives, and they just take it out by being mad about a video game. Another thing I think about this is there have been so many times within the history of ESO when it has been reasonable to be upset with the developers. They have done some really shady and ridiculous things over the years, but releasing the night market is not one of them. It's an optional type of group play that you can actually solo if you figure out the tricks. And overall, almost all reasonable people agree that ZOS is on a good trajectory with developing ESO. The game is entering a golden era of responsiveness to players, of trying new things, innovating, going outside the box. So now is really not the time to be all up in arms about things like this. Give them a shot, let them cook, let's see what they can come up with. And lastly, I did note within this response that they are looking at feedback and they might make changes to future night market iterations, or maybe even this one. I'm personally hoping they don't. I think it's fine as it is. But ZOS Kevin didn't just say, shut up, deal with it. He said they are thinking about it. They are going to respond. But at the same time, he didn't just capitulate, which I really appreciate. And now I forgot that I was going to go through some of the responses to this post, which I am going to do really quick because it did rekindle my faith in humanity to some degree. Bardock Red Snow agrees this is a based answer. There's definitely enough room in ESO for both solo and group content. It's not mutually exclusive. He's glad they're taking constructive criticism while sticking with their guts. The night market has been refreshing and fun. And then the original poster of this thread doubles down with pure insanity with this response. They basically just go through every statement and say it's wrong, as if that's some kind of an argument. It's simply wrong. That is wrong. 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 Saying somehow the night market is disrespectful to solo players. Then they made sure to come through with an edit with some totally loony word salad. Next time ZOS decides to use casual players as fuel for hardcore content, at least balance it out, make hardcore players serve as fuel to support normal content? What does that even mean? Using players as fuel for content? Are they siphoning our vital essence in some Matrix-esque pod or something? It's amazing that people like this are actually coherent writers when the actual thoughts they have in their heads are completely incoherent. This person is saying they hope that ZOS looks at actual in-game engagement and not just at forum screamers. Half of my guildies and 2 big/full guilds are in night market constantly. It's crazy popular. Yeah, that's my impression too. People want to say the night market is dead because they don't like it, but that has not been my impression at all. Anytime I've needed to find a group, there's been like 5 to choose from. This person is saying to the OP that they are excluding themselves by not wanting to engage with the content. The content itself does not exclude anyone. I've also found that to be true. Lots of relatively new players have gotten through the night market just fine, just by getting in a group and sticking with it. This person appreciates ZOS Kevin just telling everyone to let them cook. And I think they're saying they run this guild, and they say they've had 4+ 12-man groups running the night market every day. It's the most engaged they've ever seen the guild in an Elder Scrolls event, and it's the best event they've seen for socialization and engagement. Again, that's what I found as well. What Cypherman is saying here is something I've seen too. He's seen a lot of people who were averse to the night market being won over. The tide of negativity is turning and people are having fun. And this OP just keeps wrecking themselves. They should not be commenting anymore. This person has called them out for being upset about the night market being too hard for them at first, but now trying to turn it into something altruistic, where they say they're just looking out for other people. But yeah, generally the responses are very positive. This person is even saying, "We love you, Kevin." Aw, that's sweet. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this. I can totally understand reasonable criticism of the night market, pointing out things that are actually wrong with it. The fact that the rewards are kind of lackluster, I agree with that. But coming up with this paranoid conspiracy theory that ZOS is trying to push away solo players. They made the content specifically difficult for solo players because they hate them or something, and how that kind of mindset has been fueling people quitting the game over the night market existing. I mean, these people do realize that nothing else about the game has changed, right? You can just keep playing it the way you always have. The night market just exists now, and it honestly won't for much longer. So long story short, I was just really appreciative of this post from ZOS Kevin. The fact that the developers are not just backing down to the crazies. I want to make sure I shared this with you, gave my thoughts. So I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up now. But before you go, please leave your comments about this statement, whether you think it was a good response to the feedback, what you think about the overall state of the community in regards to the night market right now. Leave all your thoughts in the comments below. And also please remember to like the video, hype it, and subscribe. And consider going a step further by becoming a member, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. And now, as always, to close out, I'm going to pray to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, thank you for the Elder Scrolls Online and what a vibrant and dynamic game it still is after 12 years. Thank you for all the hardworking people at ZOS, especially ZOS Kevin, who responds to such crazy feedback with such grace. And Lord, please do bless ZOS as they navigate what to do with the night market. And Lord, please do bless all those ESO players who are clearly struggling with mental illness, who are so up in arms about the night market. Comfort them, be their comforter and their savior. And Lord, do please be with those members of my community who are Christian. Make it easier for them to follow you. May everyone see your light and your love and your grace. And Lord, do be with all those recently departed souls across the world. Guide them to your side to eternal glory in paradise. Lord, I give you all glory for my channel and for the video today. I thank you for my community and for growing my channel. Please continue to bless me with providence as you have, Lord, and bless everyone watching this video. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. All right, that's going to do it, guys. Before you go, please remember to like, hype, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications because I'll be back soon with new content.